Now, at the People's Summit over the weekend, Ohio State Senator Nina Turner gave an incredible speech. It was by all means a barn burner. Now, I want to share a couple of portions of it with you. And in this specific clip, she's going to talk about basically what we've done and what we need to do as a movement, as a progressive movement. Let's take a look.
And it is time out, sisters and brothers, for us we're not going to play the games with the folks. We will make this happen. Because if we can send a man to the moon, we can have Medicare for all. If we, a nation that enslaved black folks for 250 years, 100 years of Jim Crow, 50 years of something else, stole the land from our Native American brothers and sisters, if we can abolish slavery, we can have a $15 an hour minimum wage with these hands. And if this nation, as the symbol of the Statue of Liberty says, bring me your tired masses. But yet we live in a country that is steeped in a type of racism that is insidious, that is in the DNA of America, that we would deny our Hispanic sisters and brothers, our Haitian sisters and brothers, the opportunity to come to this land and make a difference for their families. With these hands, we will rise up. I just read an article the other day that talked about the prison system in California and the fact that it costs more money to imprison folks, that with that same money we could send folks to Harvard University with these hands. If we can spend $80 billion a year to house folks in prison, my God, why can't we have free college and university in the United States of America with these hands? We will rise up. And we're not gonna leave a sister or a brother behind. To my lesbian, gay, transgender, queer sisters and brothers, with these hands, we will make sure that Lottie Dottie and everybody is afforded the opportunity to love who they will out in the open, baby, with these hands. We can't leave a sister or a brother behind.
So, look, I love listening to Nina Turner. You know why? And like, I figured it out when I was listening to her earlier, prepping the show. She actually reminds me of a preacher. The way that she talks like somebody who's giving a sermon. And when you think about it, some of the best leaders of social movements throughout history have actually spoken like this, have actually done these kinds of sermons. So, like, I'm not a religious person, but I know a good sermon when I hear one. So that's exactly what it reminds me of. So now let's get into some of the content, right? Some of the content of what she was talking about. Now look, right now, and she kind of alludes to this, America has a bit of a spending problem. What we're doing is that we're spending all of our money on the wrong stuff. And she points that out. Hey man, if we can spend all this money incarcerating people of color, why don't we send them to school instead? You know, why spend money on private prisons, for example? But we can't spend money on educating. We cut education, and then we funnel it all into the prison system and create this school-to-prison pipeline. Okay? I mean, I'd rather have people educated. Go to a college or a trade school where they can learn a skill or do something so they can break away from that generational poverty. And it doesn't just apply to African Americans. It applies to everyone. It applies to people who are poor rural whites, you know, or inner city whites. We could do that. But instead, we're spending so much money and so much of our resources putting people in prison. So that's a great example. We have the money, we can do it. The problem is that money is locked up in the vaults of the richest Americans. Or we give it away to defense contractors to use to bomb brown people in the Middle East or elsewhere. Or given away to already extremely profitable corporations. What we have is a spending problem, a problem with our priorities. We're spending on the wrong priorities and not on the right priorities, not on progressive priorities. For example, let's go back to defense for a minute. We spend more on so-called defense than all the major countries combined. And our military continues to buy ships, tanks, and guns that we don't need. That's money that could have went to your health care or to somebody else's health care or education or helping a homeless person to get a home, mental health treatments if they need it, job counseling so they can stand on their own. It could have went to all of that. Instead, we use it on things that we shouldn't. So we do have a spending problem, and we have a priorities problem. And she rightly points that out. We can do all these things. We are not a poor nation. And progressives, look, we're needed to come out more than ever to take part in the political process. In fact, here's Nina again talking about just that point.
And this is not just about the family is together, but what this summit is about is the family getting together, planning together, and taking the power together. And now we gotta go, we gotta leave this place and really do the hard work. And it is good for the family to get together, to be refreshed, to be renewed. But we have to go back and do the hard work. And whether that is you yourselves running for office or supporting somebody, whether it's you deciding that you're gonna adopt a school or adopt a student. See, none of this stuff is complicated. It is very simple. You see, titles are good. They get your phone calls returned. They get you in the room. Titles are good, but purpose is better, baby. Purpose is better. Purpose is better. See, I know a whole lot of titled folks who won't put anything on the line for the next generation. All they care about is the next election. But we are living in a time where you got to care more about the next generation than you care about the next. You got to care more about the next generation than you do about the next election with these hands. And I remember my sister, Roseanne DeMauro, the baddest. And we were in California, and she gave this riveting speech. She shook the whole room. And what she said is that we're not going to just have unity for the sake of unity. We're not just going to go along to get along. That is the moment in time that we are in right now. And what is happening in California, although it is seen as the most progressive state, it is one of the most progressive states. Washington State is one of the most progressive states. But when we go down deeper, we find out that there are some things that need to change, some things that need to happen, some more stuff that needs to be done.
And a lot more stuff needs to be done. And these things will only get done if more and more people get involved. Look, guys and gals, we can't afford to sit this one out. Look, let me give you an example. What happens when people turn out? In the UK, Jeremy Corbyn got 70% of the youth vote. He now has more power and authority, even though he's not the prime minister. But he's got more power and authority than he ever has. And so does Labour. Imagine the power and authority that somebody, for example, I'll throw out Bernie Sanders, or Tulsi Gabbard, or, of course, Nina Turner, or many other great progressives that I haven't mentioned, because there are so many. Imagine how much power these change makers would have if that many people, just young people, got involved. Add in the older progressives that have been fighting this fight for decades, and we would be unstoppable. Because the truth is, progressives have always led the way. We have always been the force that changes history for the better. We have always expanded the circle of liberty to other people. And we have always been on the right side of policy and moral debates. Whether it's Bernie Sanders getting arrested for protesting segregated housing, or Martin Luther King Jr. not only fighting for civil rights, but fighting for economic rights. Not just economic rights for African Americans. He was fighting for the economic rights of white people, of poor white people as well. Progressivism is the future. Not because we think it's a better ideology, but because it is practical, it is pragmatic, it does work, and finally, it is moral. For all those reasons, that's why we're progressives, and that's why we need to continue to fight. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.